Good evening. I'm Karen Karpowicz, the Executive Director of the English-Speaking Union, and I love welcoming you all here tonight to celebrate the centennial of the English-Speaking Union. We're here to celebrate those generations of people that have made this organization the incredible charity and educational organization that it is today. We'll also be visiting with some of our branches. We'll be visiting with the Memphis branch, the Denver branch, and a surprise visit with our president, Quinn Pieper, at a dinner party that he's holding in his home. So we have a lot of activities available tonight. I'm sure you'll enjoy it with dignitaries. One is going to be Karen Pierce, the ambassador to the United States from the United Kingdom, and also Richard Hyde, who's the Consul General in Houston. Some of our other highlights will be an address by the President of the English-Speaking Union of the Commonwealth, the Princess Royal, who'll be giving out awards, the Princess Royal Award, which was inaugurated this year in tribute to the 100th anniversary of the English-Speaking Union of the United States. Those honored will be people who have made a difference in the quality of our programs, our membership, and our service to the community. Finally, we won't end, but we'll see an incredible concert by our president, Quinn Pieper, of Rhapsody in Blue, celebrating the Jazz Age, 1920, which was the year that the English-Speaking Union was founded in New York City. So welcome, and we love that you're all here, and please enjoy yourself and celebrate. Now I'd like to introduce our chairman, Ambassador Paul Beresford Hill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and dear friends. In this centennial year, we celebrate an extraordinary organization built by generations of members in branches across the United States and its dependencies. The ESU advances global understanding by providing educational opportunities through programs and scholarship for students, immigrants, educators, and our members. We enrich communities through active involvement in the activities of our branch members and in outreach programs. We offer financial assistance to students and educators to further their pursuits in English-related studies. And we develop bonds, common bonds, through a shared interest in the English language and culture to strengthen friendship among members, among those they serve, and the communities in which they live. We promote communication and open exchange, the open exchange of ideas among the world's speakers of English. Earlier this week, we hosted the meeting of the International Council of the ESU, bringing together 31 branches from across the globe, from Australia to Pakistan, to Turkey, to France, and here in the United States. And through our meetings, we reaffirmed our commitment to strengthen bonds and to build bridges among nations and cultures, all of it through a shared language. And this commitment is rooted in the importance that our founder, Sir Evelyn Wrench, right here, that he placed on the ties that bind the US and the UK, a relationship that has been forged in the fires of two great wars, but a relationship that has blossomed in the years of peace and prosperity. I have the honor and the pleasure this evening of introducing our special guest, Her Majesty's Ambassador to the United States, Dame Karen Pierce. Dame Karen is a noted trailblazer in international diplomacy, with a distinguished record, both here and at home. Prior to arriving in DC, Dame Karen was the UK's permanent representative to the UN in New York. Prior to that, she served as Director General for Political Affairs and Chief Operating Officer of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in London. That organization she joined in 1981, and her first role was in Tokyo from 1984 to 1987, after which she returned to the UK to work in the Security Policy Department. She then went on to Washington as private secretary to the British ambassador to the US. And between 1996 and 2006, she held a number of very significant positions in London. She returned to the Balkans as Balkans coordinator from 2002 to 2006. And in 2006, she moved to New York on her first tour to be the permanent representative, deputy permanent representative and ambassador for the UK mission to the UN. From there, she returned to London to become director of the South Asian and Afghanistan Department and the UK's special representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan. She went then to Geneva to be ambassador and permanent representative at the UK mission to the World Trade Organization and other organizations. That was 2015. And if that wasn't enough, after all of that, she went to Afghanistan to be Britain's ambassador there between 2015 and 2016. Well, Dame Karen went from the frying pan to the proverbial fire when she became the UK's ambassador to the United Nations. And from there, she headed to Washington, where she now represents Her Majesty the Queen and the British government to the United States of America. I had the privilege of seeing Dame Karen operate within the United Nations last year when I attended meetings of the Security Council, where her presence was marked by two things. Firstly, Churchillian determination. You do not cross Dame Karen lightly. And a personal flair and a fashion style which was totally unmatched in the Security Council chamber, a sometimes very stodgy environment. Dame Karen, it's an honor and a privilege to welcome you to the English-speaking Union this evening.
Oh, well, Dr. Beresford-Hill, thank you so much for that too generous introduction. The honor is all mine to be here. I am overwhelmed by the fact that the ESU, which is a fantastic organization that I have known about since my school days, is having its centennial. And I want to send greetings from the British government to all the members of the ESU on both sides of the Atlantic and around the world. And a particular word of greetings for Denver and Memphis, who I think are meeting in person for this important event. Your Royal Highness, we all know, as Dr. Beresford-Hill said, that the ESU began after adversity, after World War I, and it continued to help in adversity when the American branches sent blankets and even ambulances to Britain suffering under the Blitz in London. And then when American servicemen came over, when the United States entered the war, the ESU in Britain was there to welcome them. So it is so much more than merely an organization about language. But if we think about language for a moment, the word that most occurs to mind, and I think Churchill would have approved of this, the word that most springs to mind that characterizes the English-speaking peoples is a love of freedom. And not just a love of freedom, but a desire to try and help everyone around the world take part in that freedom. And I think that's one of the most important causes that still confronts us today, whether it's the freedom Ronald Reagan saw, so freedom from an authoritarian, even a tyrannical regime, or it's the freedoms that FDR talked about so eloquently, freedom from want, for example. And I think freedom is very much something that we are going to be talking a lot more of in 2021. The other thing I wanted to say, Dr. Bracewood Hill very kindly mentioned my time in Afghanistan. I don't know if Afghanistan has any branches of the ESU. I wish I had set one up. They are great cricketers. In fact, they did beat England. They are great rugby players. We used to go and watch rugby on the NATO helicopter field every Saturday morning. And they do speak the most beautiful English. So I hope if there is not a branch of ESU in Afghanistan, that we might be able to set one up soon. I wanted to commend, if I may, the honorees. I think it is amazing the contribution they have made to the union and to the cause of communication around the globe. But I also think they exemplify the very best of what the ESU is about. And from the Shakespeare competition to the immigrant learning program, two very different ends of a dynamic and dedicated spectrum, the ESU is showing that it can deal with the full gamut of the important issues around language that affect us emotionally and affect some people's lives every day. I am very impressed by the Evelyn Wrench lecture series and the Travel and Learn Abroad series as well. And it's fantastic that the ESU, true to its original mission, never stops learning, never stops advancing, never stops trying to bring people along with it. So thank you very much for inviting me tonight. I'm afraid I have to explain that I already had a prior engagement, which is Trafalgar Night, where we toast Admiral Lord Nelson. So I hope you will consider that a suitable reason to have to leave you early. But I wish you all the best for this evening. And as we open up again after the COVID pandemic in the US, which I hope will not be too far away, I look forward to traveling around the US and meeting so many of you in person. Thank you very much for all the fantastic work you do for the ESU. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Pierce. That was very inspiring. Now, I'd like to take the opportunity to take you on a little trip to some of our branches. We are going to share in the festivities of the Denver branch, who's celebrating tonight with us, the Memphis branch, our president, Quinn Pieper, at his home. And then finally, we're going to go back in history a bit, and we're going to see some historical information on our Kansas City branch, which was also founded 100 years ago. So follow me and let's go along and see what we can find out.
Greetings from the Memphis branch. Someone has said that the ESU started in the ashes of the Spanish flu pandemic and a world war 100 years ago. That being true, the ESU rose from those ashes like a phoenix to enrich the lives of many by expanding minds, strengthening friendships, unlocking opportunities, which fosters global understanding and goodwill and in providing educational and cultural experiences and opportunities for students, teachers, and members. The Memphis branch, with its 62-year history and 40 of its members present at this gala meeting, adds its congratulations to the ESU on its 100th birthday and salutes other members everywhere. In fact, we will close our meeting with a champagne toast and birthday cake saying, "Happy birthday, ESU." I'm going to close my remarks with a good advice from the Bard himself. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. So long from Memphis.
And you hear me from Denver now?
Yes, Bruce.
Okay, very good. Greetings from the Denver branch. We have a small group of members.
Bruce, we
I'm
lost
Bruce
your mic
Hefner. I'm
again.
the past president of the Denver branch. If you lower the screen just a little bit there, Basil, you'll see 5 people here from the Denver branch. And we want to send greetings to everyone in the English speaking union who is celebrating the gala on this occasion of the 100th anniversary. Denver branch was founded in 1930, so we are doing a double celebration for our 90th anniversary. Among the group of people here, we have 4 past presidents and a past treasurer, so our recent history is well represented here. Anybody like to speak from the Denver branch? Hello. So we will pass it back to New York. And again, greetings and cheers from Denver.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying yourself. We certainly are here in New Orleans. I'm Quinn Pieper, your national president, and we're here this evening celebrating ESU 100 years.
Okay.
It's fabulous to be here. We're very excited. And I have here at my table Courtney Ann Sarpy and Rosamond and Carlo Capamazza. These people have been part of ESU since 1970s, 80s, and the time when our president, Walker Ronaldson, was here. And this is Walker's trophy when he retired as president of ESU that we have on this occasion. And yeah, I know he's with us now. I hope you all are having a great celebration. Tonight we're gonna dine on, I researched some of Princess Anne's favorite dishes. We're gonna have deviled pheasant, right? And then we're gonna have for dessert an ice cream that Princess Anne was named for her in the 1953 Coronation Buckingham Palace banquet. So lots to come ahead. Thank you for joining us tonight. Happy birthday, ESU.
The English-Speaking Union is a organization founded after World War I in 1918 by Sir Evelyn Wrench, a British journalist and author. His vision was to break down the barriers to opportunity and create international fellowship among all nations. These common bonds would promote global understanding and goodwill through the English language. It was this unity of purpose that gave rise to the English-Speaking Union. In the United States, in 1920, the English-Speaking Union was founded in New York City, with former President William Howard Taft as ESU's first president. During the final years of the Great War, in 1917, Lieutenant Colonel Marvin H. Gates was one of the many Missouri National Guard officers from Kansas City to be sent to France. Young Captain and future U.S. President Harry S. Truman, age 33, was under Gates' command. While stationed in France, Lieutenant Colonel Gates heard news reports about Sir Evelyn Wrench and the founding of the English-Speaking Union. After returning to Kansas City with the Missouri National Guard, he learned that the U.S. headquarters of the English-Speaking Union had just been formed in New York City. It became his passion to launch a branch of the English-Speaking Union in Kansas City. Inspired by these events, Gates formed the Kansas City branch of the ESU in 1920 and became its first president. 1920 was a challenging time for Kansas City. It was the beginning of the Roaring '20s. During the early years of the Kansas City branch of the ESU, as with many nonprofit volunteer organizations, part of its mission was to provide humanitarian assistance where needed. Marvin Gates organized its Kansas City members to volunteer and help returning American soldiers and to provide aid to those coping with the Spanish flu. And true to form, the English-speaking Union of Kansas City had a unity of purpose: to unify what had been torn apart. The ESU Kansas City branch has had a number of distinguished members who were leaders in all areas of Kansas City's life, including Charles H. Price II, who was the U.S. ambassador to Great Britain during the Reagan years from 1983 to '89. Joyce C. Hall, founder of Hallmark Cards, was a member in the mid-1950s. And William T. Kemper Jr., part of the prominent banking family in Kansas City, was the treasurer of the ESU Kansas City branch. Throughout its 100 years, the ESU Kansas City branch has served its members and the community in many positive ways. In 1984, the Kansas City branch was a major benefactor and patron to help fund a permanent bronze statue of Winston and Clementine Churchill in a prominent location in Kansas City. The statue was designed by British sculptor Oscar Niemann. The sculpture, titled Married Love, and is a larger version of the original at Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire, England, where Churchill was born and later proposed to Clementine. The ESU Kansas City branch held a major fundraising for the sculpture and arranged a live theatrical production about Churchill's life to spark interest. The production, titled Churchill, played for one evening on November 28, 1982. The benefit performance raised the funds needed to complete and maintain the $250,000 sculpture, which was dedicated on May 12, 1984, with Churchill's granddaughter, Edwina Sandys, and the Duke of Marlborough in attendance. The foundation of the English-speaking Union is to offer meaningful educational programs to students, teachers, immigrants, lifelong learners, and members. The ESU Kansas City branch's longest-running educational program is the annual Shakespeare competition. For nearly 4 decades, the Kansas City branch has offered the Shakespeare competition to thousands of high school students throughout the metro area. The competition helps students improve skills such as critical thinking, public speaking, studying and analyzing literature, and increased self-confidence. The ESU National Shakespeare Competition has been recognized by the Globe Center USA, the Children's Theater Foundation of America, and the American Academy of Achievement. It is the only nationwide program of its kind in the U.S. and is exclusive to the ESU.
This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will yearly, on the vigil, feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is Saint Crispian.
2 Kansas City winners have won first place in the National Shakespeare Competition in New York City. One past Kansas City winner was second place in the national competition.
To me, William Shakespeare is a man of the people who explains the emotions and eloquently writes the importance of being a human on this earth.
English in Action is a program that closely identifies with the needs of the growing immigrant population in Kansas City and throughout the U.S. English in Action brings together immigrant newcomers to the United States with fluent English speakers for one-on-one conversation sessions. The English language learners gain fluency and competence in conversational English. The program also gives the student and the U.S. mentor an opportunity to share cross-cultural customs in the U.S. and in their own country. English in Action puts valuable and long-lasting skills directly into the hands of people who need this service. The ESU Kansas City branch partners with the Kansas City Public Library in offering English in Action as part of the library's refugee and immigrant services. Teachers Learning Abroad is a scholarship program for secondary school teachers to study abroad in the UK. 2 to 6 week intensive academic programs are offered at the University of Oxford, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, and the University of Edinburgh. ESU's exclusive partnership with these institutions gives educators access to renowned scholars and behind-the-scenes experiences specifically designed for ESU. T-Lab teachers return from their studies invigorated and excited about sharing their newly acquired knowledge with their students. Ben Martin, A Kansas City member who attended the T-Lab program in the UK tells about his experiences.
In the summer of 1998, I got the chance to go to English Speaking Union's T-Lab, and my course was studying at the Globe Theater and working with people on teaching Shakespeare through performance. It turned out to be a life-changing, definitely career-changing kind of event, because I learned so much from so many different people who were able to come in and talk to us and present, and then we actually got to perform and practice and teach on the Globe stage there in London.
The ESU Kansas City branch has hosted many prominent authors and scholars over the years, including ESU's own Evelyn Wrench Speaker Series, named after our founder. These distinguished British and American speakers present programs on topics relating to current events, history, language and literature, art and architecture, and travel. Another speaker series, the Fulbright Robertson Visiting Professor of British History Lecture Program at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri, has had British speakers give presentations to ESU Kansas City members. The Kansas City branch of the English-speaking Union has endured many difficult challenges over the last 100 years. Today, the Kansas City branch has a unity of purpose stronger than ever, and our perseverance has brought more and more educational programs to serve the needs of a growing population in the metro area. Our mission is more important than ever. This is our unity of purpose.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I don't know about Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, but I certainly wouldn't mind being in Kansas. There's certainly plenty going on there, and we thank the Kansas branch and all our other branches for their wonderful contribution. We have a special treat now. We're going to hear a virtuoso performance of George Gershwin's classic, Rhapsody in Blue. It will be performed by our own president, Dr. E. Quinn Pieper, and by the Stephen Ray Artists Orchestra. This dazzling performance brings back and captures the exuberance, the optimism, and the energy which was the center and heart of the Roaring Twenties. This was the era when our organization was founded. The piece's energy, its rhythm, its sheer excitement highlights the promises of peace, understanding, and goodwill that have been the driving force behind the English-speaking Union mission since then. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Quinn Pieper, Stephen Ray Artists, performing George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. Outstanding. I can only say that Dr. Pieper, who is arguably, I would imagine, the leading gynecologist in New Orleans, spends his professional life bringing the creation of humanity to existence. He is able here to create the creative genius of mankind by performing a piece of music which spirit and heart and soul just applaud and rejoice over. And we thank you very, very much indeed for a tremendous performance tonight in honor of Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal. The ESU Founders Award was created in 1991 by an action of the ESU board to honor individuals who exemplify three primary interests of the organization's founder, the renowned British journalist and internationalist Sir Evelyn Wrench. These three were to, firstly, foster ties between Britain and America, to cultivate international understanding and friendship, and to promote the mastery and extended use of English as the language of opportunity. The Founders Award has a distinguished history. Its inaugural recipient was none other than the Right Honourable Margaret Thatcher. And since then, it has been presented to only 6 other recipients. So you will see, it is awarded sparingly. This year, the English-speaking Union, by resolution of its National Board of Directors, bestows the Centennial ESU Founders Award on Dr. Lawrence Morse. Dr. Morse had and has a distinguished career on Wall Street, is the co-founder and managing partner of Fairview Capital Partners, a fund that invests in venture capital partners. Prior to co-founding Fairview, Dr. Morse held positions with TSG Ventures, Equico Capital Corporation, and UNC Ventures. He serves on a number of advisory boards of venture capital partnerships, including US Venture Partners, Battery Ventures, Sierra Ventures, and Trinity Ventures. He's a member of a long list of boards of directors of companies and non-profit organizations, primary of which is his chairmanship of the Board of Trustees of Howard University, one of the most distinguished, if not the most distinguished, American historically Black colleges and universities. Dr. Morse graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from Howard University. He also earned an MA and a PhD from Princeton and has been a postdoctoral fellow at Harvard University. As a student at Howard, he was awarded the 1971-72 ESU Luard Scholarship to spend his junior year at the London School of Economics. For those unfamiliar with the program, since 1969, the ESU has scholarships for students attending historically Black colleges and universities to study in the UK. These are merit awards open to sophomores who are pursuing a 4-year degree, and it provides up to $25,000 for a semester of study at any university in the United Kingdom. The scholarship has been awarded to students majoring in economics, in philosophy, in finance, in mathematics, in liberal arts, and in the sciences. As an alumni of the program, Dr. Morse became closely associated with the ESU, including being a member of the National Board of Directors from 2003 to 2009. In 2009, for the 40th anniversary of the program, he led a drive to strengthen the Luard Endowment and himself made a major gift in gratitude of his generous support of the ESU Luard Scholarship Program. By a resolution of the board in 2012, it was renamed the ESU Luard Morse Scholarship Program. The text of the award, which you can see here, says as follows: the English-speaking Union of the United States Board of Directors bestows its Founders Award on Dr. Lawrence C. Morse in recognition of his contribution to advancing the mission of the English-speaking Union in the United States, expanding minds, strengthening friendships, unlocking opportunities. And it is presented this October 21st, 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Dr. Lawrence Morse.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Beresford Hill, Dr. Pieper, and members of the Board of Directors of the English-Speaking Union of the United States for this great honor. Almost 50 years ago now, in the winter of 1970-71, during my sophomore year at university, I competed for and was awarded a Luard Scholarship from what was then the English-Speaking Union of the United States and Great Britain, enabling me to spend my junior year at the London School of Economics and Political Science. But it was an opportunity I would have missed were it not for the caring intervention of two of my fellow Howard classmates, Edris Stevens and Wanda Walton, both of whom were also finalists and competitors for the Luard Scholarship that year. On the morning that the three of us were to meet on campus at an agreed upon time and location to share a taxi to Union Station in Washington, and from there take a train together to New York City, uncharacteristically, I overslept. When I failed to show up at the appointed time and place, Edris and Wanda walked to my dormitory, insisted that the fellow on the front desk send someone up to my room to knock on the door, rouse me, and not leave until I was up, dressed, and headed down to meet them. It was an act of selfless generosity on their part that I have never forgotten. And given the subsequent profound impact on my life of that year abroad, my debt to them has only grown over the years. Not only did I benefit from the intense intellectual rigor and enrichment of an academic year at the LSE, but the English-Speaking Union saw to it that on long weekends, I had multiple opportunities to visit and stay with families in various parts of the United Kingdom. Cornwall at the southern tip of England, Edinburgh in Scotland, Horsforth near Leeds, Birmingham, Oxfordshire, and Blackheath in the southeast of London. On longer breaks, I traveled the continent, visiting Spain, France, Austria, and as far east as Turkey. I returned home from that year with an abiding affection for the British people, an expanded sense of the world beyond our borders, a greatly altered sense of myself and my possibilities in life, and a more nuanced and richer view of and appreciation for my country, all of which I credit to this wonderful organization, the English-Speaking Union of the United States. Thank you again for this very special honor. I will cherish it.
I'm thrilled to be with you here this evening. It is a culmination of many years of dreaming and planning. Now, as a bit of history, during my studies when I was in high school, I went to England with the Memphis University School summer program and fell in love with England. I became a passionate Anglophile. And then I went to the University of Oxford after Washington and Lee. And I loved the country, the people, the culture, and our shared language. I joined the ESU when I was in New York as a medical student. in order to become a part of a community that shares the same commitment to the deep historical and cultural ties, a common language, shared values, and interests that bind our two nations. Dreaming of the ESU hosting Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, at a gala to celebrate our centenary was something that in 2014 I thought, well, may not happen, but I'm going to give it my best. Even a pandemic can't stop this celebration, although it has altered it a little bit. I perform Rhapsody in Blue tonight in honor of the ESU Centennial. It encapsulates the spirit of the Jazz Age when ESU was formed, the excitement, the promise, and the optimism of the years after World War I. I dedicated the concert performance to Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal in recognition of her dedication and commitment to the English-speaking Union worldwide, and in gratitude of the establishment of the Princess Royal Award, which is inaugurated at the premiere of this performance. Now, the many years of planning and dreaming of this evening have come to pass. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to introduce Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal.
I'm delighted to have this opportunity to congratulate the English-speaking Union of the United States on its centenary. The members of the English-speaking Union of the Commonwealth and the entire international network of English-speaking unions spanning the globe also join me in wishing the English-speaking Union of the United States a very happy anniversary. This centenary is a testament to the dedication and generosity of generations of members actively participating in branches across the country who have contributed to its proud achievements. From the original 6 communities in the United States, which were the first to embrace the ideals and purpose of the English-speaking Union and formed branches to carry its mission forward, the organization has expanded across the US. From your founding in 1920, just 2 years after the establishment of the English-speaking Union of the Commonwealth, you have played an essential role in promoting communication, open exchange of ideas among the world's speakers of English, and deepening the close personal and national ties between speakers of English. This philosophy continues to drive your charitable activities. Today, through the secondary school exchange, thousands of youngsters spend a year at a high school in their host country. Educational programs, book exchanges, cultural tours, and scholarships engage thousands of ESU members and have changed even greater number of lives. I also commend today's flagship programs of the English-speaking Union of the United States. The National Shakespeare Competition, which brings the Bard's works into classrooms across the United States. The popular Evelyn Wrench lecture series by British scholars and thinkers enjoyed by ESU branches across the United States. And the 2 programs for study at a university in the United Kingdom, Travel and Learn Abroad scholarships for American high school teachers, and the Luard Morse scholarships for the gifted Black college students. Also important are your programs for English language learners and new immigrants, initiatives that are vital in maintaining the relevance of the English-speaking Union of the United States today. A lot has changed since the 1920s. The past 100 years have seen wars and peace, inventions and discoveries that have transformed the way we live and communicate. What has remained constant throughout the decades is the shared commitment to bringing people together, forging friendships, and unlocking opportunities through the use of the English language. This is the foundation on which the English-speaking union is built. This is the foundation on which it will continue to build bridges between individuals and nations as it enters its second century. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to introduce the Princess Royal Award, launched to commemorate the centenary of the English-speaking Union of the United States. It will become an international award to recognize significant contribution to the English-speaking Union in its wider global setting. The initial recipients of the Princess Royal Award this centenary year are His Excellency, Dr. Paul Beresford-Hill, Chairman of the National Board of Directors of the English-speaking Union of the United States, Mr. Donald Best, Member of the National Board of Directors of the English-speaking Union, and founder of the Evelyn Wrench Lecture Series, Centennial Endowment. Dr. Lawrence C. Morse, former member of the National Board of Directors of the English-speaking Union of the United States, an alumnus of the ESU Leward Scholarship. The late Mr. William R. Miller, Chairman Emeritus of the National Board of Directors of the English-speaking Union of the United States. Dr. Quinn Pieper, President of the National Board of Directors of the English-speaking Union of the United States. And Mrs. Elizabeth Scott, former President of the New York branch of the English-speaking Union of the United States. I congratulate them and thank them for their contributions to the mission of the English-speaking Union. I am disappointed that I've not been able to be there in person as I had planned, and I hope to have an opportunity to visit in the near future. The English-speaking Union of the United States has won a place in the history of our two nations, and I wish all members and your families every good fortune in your second century of service. Thank you.
I'm Janet Haddock. I have an Royal Award recipients that Princess Anne has just named to commemorate the centennial of the English-speaking Union of the United States. Upon the recommendation of Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, the British Cabinet approved and authorized the establishment of the Princess Royal Award, an international award to recognize significant contributions to the English-speaking Union in its wider global setting. The 6th inaugural honorees of the Princess Royal Award are honored tonight at this gala to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the establishment of the ESU in the United States. They come from different backgrounds with unique life trajectories, and all of them have left an indelible impression of the English-speaking Union in the United States. What they share is a lifelong dedication to bringing people together and fostering goodwill and understanding among them through the use of the English language. We apologize, the entire script was not on the teleprompter. Our first recipient is Dr. Paul Beresford-Hill, with whom you're already familiar. He is a true internationalist, as we have all gathered. His career as a distinguished international educator and social entrepreneur has taken him to far-flung places around the world, from his postgraduate studies at Oxford University and Columbia University to his postings as principal of the Bangkok Palana School, the premier British international school in Southeast Asia, and to assignments in Australia, Europe, and India. He began his career in the United States as headmaster of the Anglo-American International School in New York in 1974, and now, 46 years later, was recently appointed ambassador and permanent observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta in the United Nations, where he represents one of the world's oldest humanitarian organizations, founded in AD 1900, and which today provides humanitarian, medical, and social services in over 120 countries, and which still retains its identity as a sovereign state. He has brought to both of his alma maters, Oxford University and Columbia University, and is currently, visiting professor in the School of Business in St. Mary's University in London, UK. He is trustee of the Lehman College Foundation, part of the University City of New York, and serves as chairman of the Foundation of Mary Immaculate College, Limerick, Ireland from 2010 to 2015. He currently serves as chairman of the Foundation of the Venerable English College in Rome. I need more light, I'm sorry. In Rome, the oldest continuously operating English organization outside the UK, founded in, I'm sorry, I'm having lighting difficulties, founded in 1362. Go get Quinn, Steve. Dr. Beresford Hill has received numerous decorations from Queen Elizabeth, having been appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire in 1990 and a commander in 2017 for his contribution to international education and British-American cultural relations. His visionary work in establishing the Mountbatten Institute in 1984 has seen almost 10,000 British and American college graduates spend a year in internships in London and New York, and has played a large part in strengthening not only the cultural, but also the economic and business ties between the two countries. He was knighted in 2000 by Her Majesty as a Knight of Justice in the Venerable Order of St. John, and in 2016 received the noble rank of Ritter from Archduke Karl of Austria in the Order of St. George Habsburg Lothringen, who noted his strong commitment to a pan-European identity. Dr. Beresford Hill was elected chairman of the English-Speaking Union in 2015, following in the footsteps of past ESU chairmen and distinguished Americans, including President of the United States Dwight Eisenhower, Secretary of State Edward R. Stennis, Attorney General George W. Wickersham, and Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, General Alfred M. Grunthier, among others. He is a founder of the ESU National Shakespeare Competition, which he conceived in 1983 to be a part of the Britain Salutes New York Festival. Envisioning that the ESU might continue it into the future, Dr. Beresford Hill asked the ESU to continue to host the competition. The ESU developed and expanded the competition through its network of branches to be its flagship national education program, of which we have heard tonight and I'm continually impressed. As a professor, it is an astounding program. During his tenure as chairman of the ESU, Ambassador Beresford Hill has refocused the organization on rediscovering its original mission, on strengthening its membership and branches by engaging them in all programs, and by encouraging the expansion of the international dimension of the organization. Dr. Hill.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. I'm greatly honored to have been selected as a recipient among the inaugural group that have now joined together for the Princess Royal Award. For me, the honor is not so much that I was selected for the award, but that I have the privilege to share it with so many distinguished friends and colleagues within the English-speaking Union community. This is a great organization. I thank the Princess Royal and the British Cabinet for their consideration and their care in inaugurating this award. I'm privileged, both as chairman of the ESU of the United States, but also individually, to accept this on behalf of the ESU of the US. And now we will all see that this award is shared globally and that other recipients will represent the international dimension, which is so core and central to our mission. Thank you very, very much indeed.
All right, we're back, and I have more lighting now. Fortunately, Quinn has a lovely library and multiple places to from which to deliver these wonderful awards. The next is to Mr. Donald Best, who is a member of our board of directors. He's a philanthropist and self-avowed explorer. Mr. Donald Best has traveled around the world to connect with new cultures and assuage his intellectual inquisitiveness. At one point, he could boast that he had visited all countries in Europe until the Berlin Wall fell, and countless were resurrected from the ashes of the Soviet Empire, thus creating new places to visit and explore. Mr. Best is a partner in numerous real estate ventures, often in the capacity of trustee, fiduciary, and executor. He devotes a substantial amount of time to volunteer in the U.S. and international charity work. Born in California, he has been a part-time annual resident in England since 1978, and he is actively engaged in organizations that promote U.S.-British relations and international exchange. His active memberships include the British Library, Anglican Center in Rome, life memberships in the National Trust and Royal Oak Foundation, Royal Academy of Arts, and Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. Mr. Best is a member of the National Board of Directors of the English-Speaking Union of the United States. He's been a generous benefactor to the organization and has made large gifts to a number of its programs that promote international understanding and an open exchange of ideas. In 2009, through a major seed gift, he founded the Centennial Evelyn Wrench Lecture Series Endowment Fund. This is intended to ensure funding in perpetuity for the signature ESU program that brings eminent British and American speakers to ESU branches across the country for thought-provoking discussions on topics relating to current events, history, language and literature, art and architecture, and travel. Mr. Best?
It has been a privilege of nearly 40 years to have membership in the English-Speaking Union of the United States and the English-Speaking Union of the Commonwealth. Many good quality experiences, good memories, and many fine people worldwide have been met. A lot of commendable activities, and these include the Shakespeare competition, debate and English language programs, lectures and speeches at conferences, lunches, dinners with top people in their fields, whether they be Mount Everest climbers, historians, and top government leaders, including former presidents of the United States and top British cabinet ministers. Thank you very much for this very special honor. Thank you.
This recipient is Dr. Lawrence C. Morse. We're still working on it here. As Dr. Paula Beresford-Hill mentioned earlier this evening, Dr. Morse is one of the most distinguished alumni of all ESU educational programs and scholarships, and specifically of the Luard Scholarship. And some of this will be redundant, but Dr. Morse deserves repetition for emphasis. He's an investment banker with a remarkable career on Wall Street before founding Fairview Capital Partners, a fund of funds that invest in other traditional and specialized venture capital and private equity firms. In 2003, he was named one of the top 10 minds in small business by Fortune magazine. He also authored the novel Sundial, inspired by his experiences at Howard University in the 1970s, which I may be teaching to my classes. I will not revisit in detail Dr. Morse's professional and academic achievements. I will just focus on the pivotal role he has played in the strengthening of the now called Luard Morse scholarships and ensuring that the program continues to open doors to gifted African-American students in perpetuity. Founded in 1969 with a special endowment from the estate of Lucy Dalbiac Luard, the merit-based scholarship enables a current student attending an historically Black university or college to spend a semester in the United Kingdom during their junior year, to which she spoke. The experience was apparently incredible. The selection process is rigorous and highly competitive. The 80 or so scholars who have benefited by the program are now business leaders, such as himself, public figures, and prominent academics. And all of them, to one degree or another, credit their study abroad as a major factor in their personal and professional growth. In 2009, Dr. Morse led a campaign to increase the endowment fund by making a lead personal gift and chairing a committee that worked on the project. By a resolution of the ESU Board of Directors in 2010, and to recognize Dr. Morse's role in strengthening the program, the scholarship was renamed Luard Morse. He also served as the chairman of the Luard Morse Selection Committee. Dr. Morse?
Thank you.
Yes, you're on.
Very good, thank you. I would like to thank Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, and the British Cabinet for creating this very special award, and for the board of the ESU for choosing me to be among its inaugural recipients in such distinguished company. Little could I have known close to 50 years ago when Fortune first brought me into contact with this wonderful organization that I would become directly, actively engaged in its efforts to foster global understanding and goodwill by providing educational and cultural opportunities for students and educators for over 30 years now. It has been enormously rewarding. Surely this evening my cup runneth over. I am deeply honored. Thank you again.
Our next recipient is Dr. E. Quinn Pieper, who, as I do not need to inform you, is a complete Renaissance man. He's a prominent physician in New Orleans. He's conducted medical research in New York City, Oxford and Lexington, Virginia, Columbia University, Oxford University. He holds Masters of Arts degrees from University College, University of Oxford, Oxford, England. He has a doctorate of medicine from Columbia University and an MBA from Auburn University. He's also an athlete, having rowed crew at Oxford. And as we learned tonight, he is also a classically trained pianist, having performed in concerts around the world, including twice at New York's Carnegie Hall, and for us, an astounding moment tonight. 2 years ago, he inaugurated the ESU Centenary, linking us with the ESU of the Commonwealth, founded in 1918. He did this during the annual general meeting in New Orleans, where he performed Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2 in a concert that they called Rockenbach. He performed that at the Orpheus Theater with the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra. He sought on that evening to celebrate the joining of the old and new worlds, healing after a world war, and dedicated it to peace and prosperity. He is also an aesthete and gastronome, famous for the elegant parties that he hosts in his equally elegant residence, as we can see ourselves tonight. Dr. Pieper is also a generous donor to a number of causes. He sits on the boards of the New Orleans Opera Association, the Pirates Alley Faulkner Society, and is a member of the Most Venerable Order of St. John of Jerusalem, the Shakespeare Society of New Orleans, and the Jane Austen Society of North America, among a host of other associations. He's a longtime activist and supporter of the ESU. He was elected president in 2014 after having served as president of the New Orleans branch. As president, he is leading the organization's fundraising efforts and provides guidance to its educational programs and charitable activities. Dr. Pieper and Mr. Michael Harold are major ESU benefactors who, in addition to their generous annual donations, have made several major contributions that leverage the largest grant ESU has ever received to inaugurate the Andrew Romay New Immigrant Center. In recognition of his contributions to promoting U.S.-British relations, Dr. Quinn Pieper was named Honorary British Consul for Louisiana. Quinn?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the award. I want to thank Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, and the Cabinet for thinking enough of me to give me this award. I do see this as the beginning of future, a great future with the ESU. Looking forward, 2020 is the beginning of a new century, and we're going to move forward and do even more great, wonderful things for this organization. Thank you very much.
Our next recipient is Mrs. Elizabeth Scott, who is a prominent philanthropist and humanitarian, actively supporting organizations that promote Anglo-American, down a little, I'm sorry, no. That promote Anglo-American relations and cultural exchange and help immigrants to rebuild their lives. Mrs. Scott took up the cause of foreign-born young people early in her life by getting to know some who were sent to America for the duration of World War II. First children from England, and later, after 1945, young teenagers from Estonia, Lithuania, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia, whose family had been lost as a consequence of the war. Some eventually returned to England, but most made new lives in Westchester and New York after learning English and gaining self-confidence from volunteers as part of the program that started at the International Center and is now known as the English-Speaking Union Andrew Rome's New Immigrant Center. In fact, Mrs. Scott was the driving force behind the transfer of the New Immigrant Center to the English-Speaking Union after the International Center closed its doors. Mrs. Scott grew up in North Yonkers, New York, and studied English and American literature at Syracuse University and Columbia University. Her husband, Stanley DeForest Scott, shares her intense interest, and they travel often when the borders are open. They are members of a long list of genealogical, preservation, museum, and rare book libraries, as well as charitable support organization. She was president of the English-Speaking Union New York branch and has been a trustee or an officer, often president or vice chairman, of a variety of nonprofit foundations and societies. These include the American Museum and Gardens in Bath, Sir John Sloan Museum Foundation in London, Friends of the Canterbury Cathedral in the US, the American Scottish Foundation, Royal Academy of Arts in the US, of the US Volunteer Committee, Winston Churchill Memorial and Library in Fulton, Missouri, Washington National Cathedral in DC, and the International Center in New York. Mrs. Scott?
Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, members, friends, how nice it is to be recognized for having been a long-time volunteer in the efforts to improve relationships, communication, and understanding among the peoples of the world. The English-Speaking Union has been a reliable source of enthusiasm for positive Anglo-American relationships and international helpfulness through its scholarships, its lecture series, its language training and cultural programs, really doing its part. It is especially pleasing to see that the English in Action program is thriving in the Andrew Rome New Immigrant Center in the ESU building in New York City. People of different countries are learning to speak English, and they gain confidence to begin to transform their lives. Thank you for this lovely award during the centennial celebration of the ESU in the United States. And carry on.
Our next recipient to receive the Princess Royal Award is longtime ESU member, Chairman Emeritus, benefactor and friend, Mr. William C. Miller. Sadly, Mr. Miller passed away on September 28th of this year. Before he died, he was told about this award and felt privileged and honored to be included in this inaugural presentation. Mr. Miller epitomized Sir Evelyn Wrench's ideal of a true champion for peace, understanding, and goodwill among people and countries. Mr. Miller valued deeply the English-Speaking Union's mission and was an enthusiastic supporter of our educational and cultural programs for new immigrants, students, educators, and members. And he was excited about receiving the ESU Founders Award and was looking forward to this evening. While Mr. Miller is not here with us to accept this award, during his decades of involvement with the ESU, he left an indelible mark. We are grateful to him for his generosity, commitment, and leadership. Dr. Paul Beresford Hill and Mrs. Natalie Prey with us here knew Bill Miller, and I invite them to say a few words. Paul?
Bill Miller was a remarkable man. In addition to his extraordinary success in the pharmaceutical industry, he retired as vice chairman of Bristol Myers Squibb. Bill had an avocation, and that was as a noted philanthropist. He was chairman of the American Fund for Westminster Abbey. He was a board member of Americans for Oxford, the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, and he was an advisory director of the Metropolitan Opera. He also served on the boards of a wide variety of organizations, including the St. George's Society, the St. Paul's Cathedral Trust in America, the Manhattan School of Music, the American Opera of New York, and as well, he was on the vestry of the St. Thomas Church on Fifth Avenue. Bill led the ESU through the Great Recession of 2007-2009 with a steady hand and with much foresight. He conceived and he created the ESU endowment, and he helped put our organization on a sound financial footing, thereby securing our future. He also launched the Margaret Thatcher Lecture Series, a signature program of the ESU in the late 90s and early 2000s. Bill was a good and a loyal friend. He touched many lives very, very positively. And he is a man whose legacy will surely endure.
Obviously, during his rich life, Mr. Bill Miller had many friends who held him in high esteem. One of the long-serving ESU patrons is Natalie Prey. Natalie and Bill Miller worked together on the founding committee of the Thatcher Lecture Series. Born in Australia, Natalie Prey was an officer with the United Nations. Her career with the UN spanned the political, humanitarian, development, budget, and management fields. Noted philanthropist and Anglophile, Natalie has supported many charitable organizations in the US and the UK. Natalie Prey has been president of the Greenwich brand for the English-speaking Union in Greenwich since 2007. She's also a member of the board of directors of the Palm Beach branch of the English-speaking Union. Natalie?
Bill Miller was a mentor, a role model, and a dear friend for 26 years. Bill's idea of retirement in 1990 was to become leader of a number of transatlantic and other charities, giving generously of his time, talent, and treasure. Bill was the quintessential Englishman, principled, punctual, loved cricket. Early memories of working with Bill go back to 1999 under his chairmanship of the Thatcher Lecture Series. Our first was a formal dinner at the Plaza Hotel. Lady Thatcher gave a brilliant speech on British culture and the English language. Bill was chairman when I joined the ESU National Board and witnessed his visionary leadership, which raised the profile and the endowment of the ESU. Some of you will remember his meetings always started on time. We next collaborated for the St. George's Society. I followed him as president. He was my role model. We established the St. George Advisory Council, bringing together the great and good on both sides of the Atlantic. With Bill's connections, brought onto the council distinguished Anglo-American corporate leaders. Most recently, Bill was chairman of the American Board for Westminster Abbey, supporting the Queen's Diamond Jubilee galleries in the lofty Gothic towers of Westminster Abbey. Prince Charles was our patron, and in 2017, we were invited to have dinner with Prince Charles at Buckingham Palace. On that trip, Bill made time for cricket at Lord's. My personal debt of gratitude to Bill goes back to 2002, where for many years, Bill was special guest at our annual Queen's Birthday Garden Party at our home in Greenwich. We will always cherish the memory of Bill speaking at the Queen's birthday party in Greenwich last year. Bill has received many honors, especially from the Queen, with the Order of the British Empire in 2000, Commander of the British Empire in 2011. There are no medals or awards to adequately thank Bill for his extraordinary contribution to our community. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalie, for those heartfelt words about a great, great man. Well, this evening is titled, we have named it 100 Years, 100 Stories. And this is in tribute to the members of the ESU over the years whose lives have been so tightly interwoven with the history of our organization. And in a minute, you will watch a short video about some of those stories and some of those individuals. But before that, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to share with you my own story. The English-speaking Union has played an unexpected but very important and significant role in my life in many, many, many different ways. But it all began in, gosh, I'm not sure if I can even tell you how long ago it was, but I was a young British teacher working in a comprehensive school in Milton Keynes. And I'd applied for a job at a very prominent private school. And unfortunately, the headmaster of my comprehensive school said that he wasn't going to release me from my contract. So the job at Eton College fell through. It was sad, but you know, when you're young, you just take life as it is and you move on. And so I began to think about moving abroad. And so I applied for a teaching job in New York. Now, the American headmaster of the school that I applied to was frequently in London, and he invited me in London to be interviewed. I was very impressed with the address. Coming from Milton Keynes, getting that envelope with the message inside, meet me at Dartmouth House, King Charles Street, London. Wow. So my long and my enduring tryst with the United States began at the English-speaking Union in London all those years ago. Naturally, when I came to America in 1974, I joined the ESU, and on more than one occasion had the pleasure of enjoying afternoon tea at the old clubhouse on the Upper East Side. I was told it was the nearest thing to heaven, the nearest thing to England on this side of the Atlantic. When I married my wife, Kathy, we wed on April 11th, 1976. We held our wedding reception at the ESU. And you can see in those photographs at the ESU on that wonderful day, One is in the main room where we were doing or having our first dance together, the anniversary waltz. And we had a wonderful band which would later reach some fame as the Walter Murphy Band when they had a great hit called A Fifth of Beethoven, a jazzed up version of Beethoven's Fifth. And for our reception, they were a bit more conventional. And then, of course, we came to cut the wedding cake under the portrait of Winston Churchill, which hangs right here in the vestibule of the ESU offices on 39th Street. Another memorable vignette of a long and enduring relationship, both between my beloved wife and myself, and I love you, Kathy, and between both of us and the English Speaking Union, something we both treasure. Enjoy these memories.
I've struggled to identify just one word to describe the ESU. The English-speaking union means different things to diverse peoples and groups, and one word does not suffice.
I couldn't limit it to one word, so I'm going to say progressive.
Enriching, as in enriching the lives of tens of thousands of people every year.
Educational.
Friendship. Scholarship.
Culturally valuable.
And fun.
I joined the ESU 26 years ago.
I joined the ESU sometime in the 60s.
I joined ESU in 1962.
I joined in the 1950s, which means that I've been a member for over 60 years.
So many wonderful memories make it difficult to select just one.
We had garden parties and a particularly memorable one at the Barbadian Embassy where we found out what true rum tastes like.
So many fond memories of the programs that were organized.
I have been a tutor at English in Action for about 2 years now. English in Action is a very supportive and inclusive environment.
Our diverse educational programs impact so many groups of people: teachers, immigrants, high school and middle school students.
We can connect with our youth with our programs, middle school debate and Shakespeare.
My fondest memory is of arriving each year for the annual competition again, the Shakespeare competition.
Our Shakespeare competition is something that I really, really enjoy.
It's great fun and it really engages high school students with Shakespeare.
Connecting youth and our adult population to understand the history over 100 years of what our organization has done and the lives that it's impacted.
I think the greatest strength of the ESU is the English language. It's all over the world, and there's a wonderful opportunity for us to make connections across national borders.
The greatest strength of English-speaking union is to bring peoples of the world together.
And that work has been ongoing for the last 100 years.
We decided early on that English should be a means of inclusion, not a path of exclusion.
The next 100 years, I hope to see ESU USA grow through our common bond, the English language, to connect with others all over the world and across the United States.
For the next century, which is what we're interested in, they want to have a dialogue in English that will defeat injustice all over. And I think that just about sums it up.
Good evening, wonderful video. I'm pleased to have with me tonight the Honorable Richard Hyde, Her Majesty's Consul General in Houston. Richard has been of great assistance to all of us here in New Orleans and on the Gulf Coast. We've had 4 hurricanes this year. And to me personally in planning this special evening and other events. He recently took his post in Houston, but he's already become a terrific ally and a friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Hyde, Her Majesty's Consul General in Houston.
Thank you, Quinn. You are truly a great champion of the English-speaking union, a fabulous musician, as we heard a little while ago. And as our honorary consul in New Orleans, you're a great supporter of the UK. And to me personally, a great friend. So howdy everyone from Houston. This has been a truly memorable evening, a highlight of my time in the country so far. I'd like to add my congratulations to those of Her Royal Highness and the Ambassador to tonight's honorees. I'm proud that my team down here in the South Central region of the United States works so closely with the English-speaking union, in particular on New Orleans branch. Until tonight, I've been a little jealous of my predecessor as Consul General, Karen Bell, who had the great luck to participate in the gala at the Orpheum Theatre that was part of the ESU annual meeting back in 2018 in New Orleans. I know that was a spectacular event, but finally, I now have had the great privilege to be part of your Centennial Gala tonight. It's of course a great shame that we couldn't all gather together as we'd hoped and planned, but I congratulate the organizers for pulling together such a wonderful virtual celebration. I offer my sincere congratulations to all ESU members in the United States as you celebrate your centenary, and I send you all my very best wishes for the next 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard, for those heartfelt wishes. It is indeed a memorable evening. As with all singular events, it takes a team to bring this together, an event like this, and I would like to thank our marvelous Executive Director, Karen Karpowicz, Acting Director of Development, Rosanna Ivanova, and Joshua Kepo Gonzalez, the IT and Communications Manager, for the enormous amount of work of effort that they have put into this evening for this virtual gala. It's the beginning of a year of programs that will pay tribute to our centennial. At the dawn of the new ESU century, we're just getting started. So here's to 2020 vision for the next century. Thank you all for joining us. Happy birthday, ESU. Raise your glass. Cheers to the ESU. Cheers.